She didn't let me come in.
Well, we have a quorum, even though we don't need one, so we'll start our meeting. If anyone wants to come in, they'll be able to leave. Let's see, sure.
Lou, can
Yeah, I'm gonna call this meeting to order, folks, and the only thing about that podium, because we can't see anybody.
How about I put it over here?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
To the side. So, this is a workshop session, of course, so it's kind of a little bit informal. We do have an agenda we're gonna start with real quick, and we'll just do a call to order, which I just did. Roll call, if you don't mind, Robert, call roll. Are you prepared to do so, or?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I didn't know that was,
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, I just want, for the record, call to order was at 5:32 p.m. And the call to order was made by Chair Trujillo. In regards to roll call, Commissioner J.D. Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Joe Salazar.
Present.
Commissioner Ross Chavez, excuse me. Commissioner J.R. Trujillo.
Present.
Commissioner Roland Borrego. Let the record show Mr. Borrego is not in attendance. Commissioner Charlene Gwynn.
She's on her way.
Okay,
She's walking in. Okay.
we'll wait
She's
for her to
gonna
come
open the
in.
door in about 3 seconds. 1,
I never did a workshop, so.
2, 3.
Okay, and this is Ms. Gwynn.
Hey.
Hey!
She's present.
Okay, let the record show Ms. Charlene Gwynn is present. Yeah, Commissioner Adriana Ortiz. Let the record show Ms. Ortiz is not present. Thank you, Mr. Chair, you do have a.
Thank you. If we may stand for the pledge of allegiance. And Ross, will you give us the pledge of allegiance, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you have before you the agenda, and before we go for an approval of the agenda, we wanted to make a couple of changes. So first off, for number 1 position, we wanted to add Mr. Willie Atencio. He's gonna have a 15-minute presentation on something, a project here in town he wants to share with us. And then number 2 will be the minor subdivision ordinance, which is just gonna be a review, not an approval. Okay, this is a non-action meeting, so it'll just be for review. And we're going to strike the cannabis commercial license permit structure. That's something that we're gonna be working on, but we just, with the recent events, we haven't had time to work on that so far, okay? So we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second. So that's motion made by Joe Salazar, second by Ross Chavez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So with that, Mr. Atencio, we have 15 minutes for you on our list here, on our agenda for you. Okay, so I think, are you gonna introduce this project, Lou?
Yes.
So Lou's gonna introduce you, and you can tell us what you'd like to tell us in 15 minutes, okay?
For the record, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I just wanted to let you know about this project that is forthcoming. Mr. Atencio has been working on this project in the community, and he asked if it was possible to talk to the commission and at this workshop. I did stress, Mr. Atencio, that there's no action taken tonight. This is only for information to share, and you will be given 15 minutes on the floor. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brief the commission real quick. Mr. Atencio met with me sometime in July, prior to July, sometime in June. And we had a meeting on June the 21st at about approximately 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Mohammed and I met with you in my office, and Mr. Atencio stated that he was interested in developing a housing subdivision in the community. And it would be located in Santo Nino, and it's 21 acres, a total of 21 acres, and it would combine 6 lots. 5 of the lots are zoned R6 and 1 lot is zoned R1. So the first thing you would need to do is what he asked, if it was possible to have one of the lots rezoned. I shared with him the steps in the code of what's required of him to come to the planning commission in that rezone process. So one of the things that I want to share with you tonight is just a footprint of the project that he's working on, and okay. You're welcome. Mr. Atencio is very excited about sharing this project, and I think from the many discussions that I've had with Mr. Atencio is that he's looking for assurance from the city that something like this is needed and it can be done in the city. So I told him that we are in a phase right now of co-development. We need a lot of housing. The new administration has been working very closely with the landlord folks, and there is a demand for housing. So with that, I'm going to yield to Mr. Atencio so that you can talk about your project. And also, this is what I shared with Mr. Atencio. This is a flow chart on the steps that are required for a rezone. And I guess I have some questions for you, Mr. Atencio, before we go further. So you have 5 parcels right now that are zoned R6, and you have 1 parcel that's zoned R1. So when you come for a rezone, are you gonna rezone that 1 parcel that's R1 to an R6? Or do you wanna rezone all the parcels?
I think at this point, we need to rezone all the parcels.
What do you wanna, what do you?
Well, I think we will make decisions as we come to them.
Okay, now I just wanna let you know, Mr. Atencio, this body tonight they can't make recommendations to you, they can't really, we're kind of like putting the cart in front of the horse with you being here tonight, but I know that you were very excited about sharing this project. Offline, you and I can meet and I can guide you through the process that the code has, but tonight is only informational. Just, you can only share with them where you are right now, okay? So, you're welcome. You're welcome to stand up, Mr. Atencio.
The reason that we're trying to get housing for the valley is because the lab has requested the city to come up with housing, from what I understand.
Yes.
I think the city, the lab sent some people out here twice within the last 3 months.
There's been a lot of discussions that have been going on with the city, the new administration and the lab. Yes, I concur with Mr. Atencio.
You know, so everybody knows that the lab is the lifeblood of this valley. Right now, they are in the process of hiring, from what I understand, 5,000 people. Where are these people going to live? I think there are something like 1,200 people that commute from Albuquerque every day. We were farmers until recently, where because of the drought, we haven't been able to get enough water. So we made the decision to try something else. And what I'm trying to do is help the lab provide housing for its new employees. We have a total of almost 21 acres combined. all the family members are combined to have that many acres. There is water rights that go with this acreage. So I realize it was not gonna happen overnight, but I think the demand is there to where it behooves the city to work with the lab to provide more housing. Does anybody have any questions?
We can't really engage you very much, Mr. Atencio, because you might be coming before us
Yeah.
in the future. But I can say this, you might want to visit with us for the rest of the meeting. We're gonna be discussing the ordinance that we're proposing that would probably help you along with your project. So you might get some information that would be useful to you with your project. So I'd welcome you to stay, and this is what we're gonna be talking about here. Next up is the minor subdivision ordinance.
Right now, I think the lab is working with the local college, the community college. They are trying to train electricians, plumbers, and other people that will contribute to the lab. Upon completion of some of these courses, they have a guaranteed job at Los Altos. Some of these, at one time when the lab was first set up, a lot of the skilled labor had to be brought in. Right now, they're trying to train the people here at the college. So this could be very good for the youth. They are talking like they're, and I stand to be corrected, they're hiring, they're trying to train hundreds of young people to be pipe fitters, electricians, plumbers, something like that. That would be very good for the area.
Evidently, yes.
Can I answer any questions?
I think we're fine. I would welcome you to sit and listen to the next presentation that we're gonna be talking about.
I will be, I would say that the loss of Mohammed is a big loss to the city because he had a lot of good ideas. I've been talking to him. I talked to him quite a bit. He had his eye on the Lucero property, which is just beyond our property. And his idea was to build a building and people would, from the valley, would work in that building. So this is coming. The company I've been working with is Columbus Capital. They are renting buildings to the lab in Santa Fe. So this is a new trend, and I think it really behooves the city to work with a lab to everybody benefits.
We agree.
Thank you, Mr. Atencio. Thank you for your time tonight. And I will continue to work with you in my office. And I concur with you. Muhammad's death is a great loss to us. And so, but we will continue to move forward with this vision.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atencio. So next up is the discussion on the, yes. Well, we really can't engage because we might hear this project in the future. We don't want to create something that would be a little contradictory. I mean, you can ask them something off premises maybe or something. But I wanted to go into the minor subdivision ordinance. So we had excuse me, it's Roland calling me. Let's see. Yeah, Roland. Hey, buddy. Good, we're in our workshop session right now. It was at 5:30. You can probably be here soon. Probably fit right in. Okay, thanks. Roll behind. But anyway, we had one session already on the minor subdivision ordinance, and we've been doing quite a bit of work since then. We did have a few hang-ups, of course, with Prass and Muhammad. but we've gained traction again, and Lou and I have been working on this along with Jordan, who is our new city manager. I was hoping he could be here tonight to introduce himself to you. Breath of fresh air when it comes to pro-development in Espanola. Especially when it comes to housing, Mr. Atencio, I think you'll be happy to meet this guy. And the whole idea of the minor subdivision ordinance is to create infill and to create housing. And I think quite a few of our property owners, I believe if you look at Mr. Atencio's map, you'll see that a lot of that property is owned R6, which is what the minor subdivision is going to be intended to help develop. It'll be a good thing for the city of Espanola. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation on the ordinance over to Ms. Lou Baker. And this is an interaction between us and her, so you guys can ask any questions you want as we go along. So with that, Lou, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Trujillo. Honorable members of the commission, thank you for being here tonight, taking time away from your family. I want to do a real special shout out to Commissioner Trujillo. He has spent a lot of time on this ordinance, has been diligently committed to this and keeping me on task. And so thank you very much, Mr. Trujillo, for that.
Thank you.
So one of the things when we start at the top, we're going to go through this as quickly as possible. I just want to stress that this is a draft and it will go to, let me just step back for a minute. Mr. Trujillo, Chair Trujillo and I met with Jordan, and Jordan Yutzi is the city manager. So Mr. Yutzi will take this draft and format it into the ordinance format template that it needs to be in before it goes to City Council for adoption and ratification. In that meeting that we had with Mr. Yutzi, it was very refreshing. Mr. Yutzi is very knowledgeable and pro-development and gave us some really good ideas. So I want to do a shout out to Mr. Yutzi. So with that, the purpose of the minor subdivision is going to support the comprehensive plan adopted by the city as a guide to achieve harmony, equity, and generational wealth. Therefore, the purpose of this ordinance is to achieve the following goals: protect and provide for the public health, safety, and general welfare, transform underutilized R6 properties into multiple home sites, stimulate the construction of much-needed housing, increase our property tax base, generate an increase in the number of water and sewer customers, support key components of our comprehensive plan, create generational wealth, decrease the number of vacant properties, and provide infill in our city. So the reason that we're having this workshop tonight is so that you folks can make recommendations, make suggestions, make comments. Let us know if there are any errors and omissions. Is there anything that you would like to include in this purpose section? So you have A through I, and we're gonna provide infill. So we're looking at more density. We're gonna comply with the comprehensive plan. We're gonna focus on R6 properties, and most importantly, we're gonna this ordinance will provide for public safety. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to add to the purpose from your expertise, your forte?
I just have a question about increase our property tax base. All these properties here, especially the Atencio properties, are in Santa Fe County. Now we've heard before that the city's not getting the money from Santa Fe County that we're entitled to for the lodger's tax or whatever it is. And so how do we propose that we're gonna get the tax revenue from Santa Fe County?
Well, not all the properties that are R6 are in Santa Fe County.
Right, but this is a big
Yeah.
tract.
And that would be something that the mayor and the city manager have to work on. So if money is due to the city, I would be hard pressed to think they would not fight hard to get that money.
Okay.
Yeah. But by providing the development and the creation of home sites on this vacant land and stuff, that will generate property taxes that we can use for our education base mainly, and whether any other programs that we're eligible to use property tax money for, so.
Yeah, I know that our previous city manager, Ms. Jeanette Archuleta, worked really diligently with taxation and revenue when we had a hiccup with our gross receipts tax. And she went to bat and she took a position, and we the city got our fair share of gross receipts tax. So I concur with Chair Trujillo. I know that the leadership will work with Santa Fe County and say, we want our fair share of
Give
this.
us our money.
Yeah, show me the money.
Yeah, give us our money.
What about River County, how are they doing with us?
I don't think we have any problems, I've heard with Rio Grande County. And most of that money gets I believe it gets split up at the state level. So basically the money is collected, and you work for the state, I believe that, yeah, I believe the state is who divvies up the money based off whatever calculations they have. And they send you your portion of what you're supposed to receive as a municipality.
Well, if I may,
Please.
is that the property tax will go to the county assessor or to the county assessor or the finance department at the county. Now, the county, if it's Santa Fe County with the Espanola municipality in there, they should then be allocating that part to the city of Espanola. If that's not occurring, you kick it back to tax and rev, they'll rule on that money is due to the city of Espanola.
Thank you, Commissioner Salazar, that's good to know, yeah.
So you wanna increase the property tax on all city?
No.
What we're gonna be doing is by improving the property. So right now, we have a vacant piece of property, it's not used for anything, you're taxed at A level, right? You build a nice $300,000 home on that property, the property tax report goes up because you built a home on it.
Okay, not property tax on all.
No, we're not,
Okay.
we're not asking for any increases, we're wanting to make the highest and best use of the property, which will generate higher property taxes because you're gonna build houses.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay, so would you like, since Commissioner Chavez, that's why we're having this discussion right now, do you think D is not worded correctly?
Increase our
confusing?
property tax base.
Let's change it.
Yeah,
Do you wanna change it?
I think we should change it, cause
Okay.
I read it like you're gonna increase
Okay,
property taxes, and right there was a red flag.
okay,
No
so
way.
we don't want red flags when we go to council, so do you have a suggestion on how to say
I
if,
think we would maybe say increase our property tax value,
On
because-
new construction?
because it's the tax value that we're looking at.
okay,
Well, yeah, it would be tied to, of course, development of the property.
Right, of course,
okay, increased tax value based,
because that does look like, oh, we're gonna charge more taxes.
yeah, we don't want that, we don't want a red flag.
You wanna put in that it's the tax increase is gonna go to where those subdivisions are gonna be created.
So increased tax value through development of the property.
Okay,
That's
there you
fair.
go. Increased tax value is
With development of the
development of property, okay. That's why we're having this discussion tonight. Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Any other one of these points,
How about G, create generational wealth? Can
okay?
you say how we're gonna do that, rather than just increase?
Well, sure.
Or create generational wealth by creating housing for,
Well, and I guess what's missing here is the preamble, or in the prologue, okay?
Yeah.
And basically what this is gonna allow, let's use Mr. Attention as an example. There's multiple owners of this property, so let's say he has an acre piece of R6 property with just one house on it. He can use through the minor subdivision ordinance, he can create 5 additional lots that he could sell, or he could build houses and sell.
Mhm.
And that's basically how it's gonna increase generational wealth. The cost of someone's home, or you provide a home to your children, you could have your whole family living in your property now. I mean, we've had cases before us now where people wanted to subdivide their land to make home sites for their children. Remember, we had one out there in Santa Cruz. This would allow a person to do exactly that. He could build 5 homes for his family, or 2 for his kids and sell three. That's how we increase generational wealth.
Could we add on a little bit on that?
Sure.
Sure.
And this is just, like you say, this is just the
Yeah.
basics in rough draft form. Yeah, we can add, what would you propose?
What would you like?
Yeah,
I don't know, create generational wealth by producing housing, new housing development, I don't know.
Okay, well, but I'd like,
A little bit more, because when I first read it, I was a little, well, how are you gonna create generational wealth?
well, we can add to that, and then, like I say, make it a little more colorful. Make it more colorful and a little more expressive, no problem.
to answer your question, the way I would interpret generational wealth is, for example, let's say my family, we've been renters all our lives. My grandfather was a renter, my father was a renter, and I'm a renter. But now I have an opportunity to buy up my very first home.
Yes.
I would be the first home owner in my family. So I pass away, now my family is gonna have a home. So now I'm passing that wealth to the next generation,
Yes,
okay?
so just add on
We'll
something to
try to
that.
capture that best we can, sure.
Okay, well, I'll clean that up a little bit, okay? Any other discussion? How about provide infill of our city? That talks about, what that means is we're talking about density. Anyone have any, welcome Commissioner Borrego.
Thank you, sorry to tell us
Yes.
late, I just got in from Little Rock, and it's a long drive.
Excuse me, Yes, and, okay. Yes. Little Rock, Arkansas?
Yep.
Oh, and you drove?
Lots of water in the river down there, let me tell you, wish
Oh,
we had it.
were you down there with the flooding or?
No, this is business.
Oh, okay.
Did you see our former president was Bill Blair and his wife?
We tried,
We tried, huh?
yeah, they didn't show up. We got a rainstorm the night before last, and
Wow, well, I'm sorry to digress, yes.
go ahead.
Let me, before we move on to the next section, let me just, say here. I'm sorry? Oh, go on, Jenny.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
By building up Espanola, with filling up these dirt-filled lots with houses, I'm assuming that people are going to compete with each other to make better houses, and they're gonna have to go through planning and zoning to make better houses. Which means that your house, everybody's house in here will go up in value,
Will be what?
go up in value.
Good.
Am I correct or not?
I guess it depends on the quality of the home that you have.
Well, I think, well, if it doesn't have if a property doesn't have a home, it's got very little value.
No, what I'm saying, everything based on property values is based off market value, right? So you're right, if you have a nice home and someone builds more nice homes around you, yeah, that could definitely increase
It's like if we
the,
have an area that I heard about, this 20-some acres that may have homes on it, it's gonna make all that property worth more money,
sure,
because we have more people there. It's gonna open up to businesses, maybe even little 7-Eleven stores or something like that, it's all good and important for us.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting one time, many years ago. It was a city hall meeting, G.K. Brazier was there. Most of you don't know who G.K. Brazier is. He was the owner of Bank of Rio Arriba. Used to be down here by Cook's, the building that's there by Cook's.
the Summers Bank bill?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were there, and he described about flying from Albuquerque to Denver. And he described Espanola from the air as he flew to Denver. I had never flown, I wouldn't even think about flying at that age. But he said that the valley looked like a U. The U itself was just a property that was owned by people. The rest of it was either owned by the Pueblo, BLM, or Forest Service. So we have an isolated place that we can grow. And I'm glad to see that we're doing this, you know.
Thank you.
It's gonna upgrade the value of the whole city.
absolutely. And
Just like when I told you people that I wanted to be in planning and zoning, was to better Espanola, I don't know if you remember that or not.
I remember.
All this is gonna better Espanola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm working on making sure that Espanola is not the baddest joke in New Mexico.
Right.
And I'm working on it, and it's gonna happen. I'm gonna talk to the governor tomorrow night. She's gonna be here for 3 hours, and I'm gonna have her here 15 minutes. I'm gonna ask her, it's got nothing to do with this, okay? So I'm gonna ask her to put a railroad engine in the plaza. That's where it belongs. We have one in Chama that's broken, we can keep it, we'll paint it, we'll dust it down. I'm done.
So you see what the purpose is all about, and JD, I couldn't have said it better. You know, the whole idea is to create a mechanism that's gonna make, yeah, Jim.
Okay, you're talking about valuations, I think Commissioner Martinez brought up a real interesting point. Is you build these subdivisions, the houses around them or properties around them, their property values will go up too. And that will cause maybe an increase in property taxes to those surrounding homes that are already in existence. You know, we had the experience that Santa Fe went through when people were coming in and moving up to Canyon Road. As the property values went up, taxes went up, a lot of the local people that were living there could not afford to pay those taxes. That created a problem for them, so they had to start moving out or losing their property for whatever reason. So, you know, that concerns me a bit, you know, especially for senior citizens that are not fixed
There's some
income.
rules that have been passed, Joe, so now I believe they cannot increase your property tax more than 6%
Okay.
a year, right?
A year.
Yeah, and then if you ever sell the property,
Then it goes
then
up.
it gets assessed at whatever the value is for the new buyer.
But let's take into another consideration, you say you sell the property, when a property passes to the next generation as spoken to, then that could step in, that then the valuation goes up too.
Well, but the death tax, the way it is right now, you have to give them, I think it's like $500,000 more than that before they get taxed on it.
And some of those properties in Santa Fe
I
didn't.
mean, I hope that, I understand what your concerns are, and it's happened in the past. There's been some changes to that, to the tax laws, but we still don't wanna hold back the city of Espanola. This is still a good thing.
And I'm not saying that, I'm just concerned about, especially for those senior citizens that are on fixed income, they can't afford to get a 6% increase.
I hear you, that could be a problem.
yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair Trujillo, may I make a comment?
Sure.
A very good point, and it's a valid point, and I think about that all the time. But let me give you the opposite of that. So right now I'm working with Armando, the code enforcement officer. And we have some derelict properties in town that we are targeting to condemn and just board up. And the way I explained it to him is that we're gonna target the property owner, because what happens is you start to have creep. So if you have 2 or 3 houses in a neighborhood that are derelict and that property owner doesn't want to do anything, there's homelessness, drugs going on, so this property owner says, you know what, I'm out of here, I'm gonna sell, I'm out of here, they leave, then you start to see this creep, and before you know it, you have an entire block of blighted properties. So then you see the flip side of that, and if we can do this subdivision and we start to improve a neighborhood, then we're gonna have creep, but in the reverse, where you're gonna start to see property values improve, people are gonna wanna live in that neighborhood, people are gonna take a great sense of pride in their property, and so that's kind of, I agree with you 100%, but that's, we can have one or two. We can either have good neighborhoods or neighborhoods that we're dealing with right now.
So with the purpose, again, in rough form, these are the key components of what we're envisioning is the purpose of this ordinance, okay? Now, once we are able to get this ordinance approved by the commission, passed by city council, we want to create some excitement about it. We want people to say, I want to take advantage of that. These folks want to take advantage of that. There's a lot of factors that are looming, and of course, Los Alamos is a big one. You know, this is really kind of how we started on this subdivision ordinance tasked by the mayor, is that they're envisioning, why do we want to pass up all this opportunity that Los Alamos can help us bring to the valley? You know, as people need to live somewhere, and not to mention, we have people here that would like to live in a better house too, and you can't blame them for that. So we're going to do some incentives, and these are all incentives that we've talked to the city manager about. So right now, they're all are legal incentives, all right? And I'm gonna have Lou go through them and see what you think about them, see if it would encourage you, if you have property, to do something with your property with this ordinance. So if you would go through those, Lou, that'd be great.
Yes, Mr. Chair. And I want to stress, and I concur with Chair Trujillo, there was some discussion about the legality of it in regards to the Anti-Damnation Act, just anything that could be litigated. And so these points, these incentives and these concessions are legal, and we really feel that they would help a developer be an incentive. So A, no water and sewer connection fees for the first 3 years after adoption of the ordinance. Reduce permit fees and application fees and charges. And I'm gonna give you an example with that. So right now, the way the fee schedule is written, if you submit a subdivision application to the planning department and I review it, it's $500 for a subdivision with 5 parcels or less, 5 lots or less. Then it's $500 plus $150 for every lot after that. And so we're looking at an application fee of $65 plus an additional, I think it was $25 for recording. And so that's a significant reduction from $500 for an application fee to $65. And so when we start looking at these fees, it really helps when you're a small developer. C, simplify and expedite application and approval process. One of the things that we discussed, I am of the opinion that we want to get shovels in the ground in 60 days. We want to get projects moving. We don't want them languishing. We don't want the bureaucracy. We don't want all of this hoops and loops that an individual needs to go through, an applicant needs to go through. We want to be able to have them go through the process as quickly as possible, get approval, come to the planning department, boom, 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 they get the building permit, and they're out the door.
Let me expand on that a little bit.
Yes.
So currently, any subdivision has to go before council for approval. With this process, the way it would work, the individual would come in and fill out an application. They would have a meeting with the planning director and land use department. At that point, they would submit a preliminary plat. And there's some criteria you'll see further down the road on what has to be on the plat and what's required. At that point, they would, it would be presented to the DRT for review, preliminary plat. Once they got that, their input taken care of, the developer would bring the preliminary plat before planning and zoning department. We would have a public hearing, so the public has their input on the project, okay? If you approve it with conditions or deny it, that's your call as a commission. If it's approved, then they would go make the changes to the preliminary plat. At that point, they would come see the planning director, which is currently Lou Baker. She would confirm the changes were made. She would sign off on it. They would take it to get recorded, bring it back, and they will now have a new city building permit for that subdivision.
Within 60 days.
Oh, at least, yeah, it's 60 days. Maybe,
Or less.
Or less, yeah.
That can be done.
It can be done,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be a limit to get the permit on the city's part? Let's say that I wanna build something, And, how long do I have to wait before before I can build?
Well, you could build, so let's say this process, we're envisioning 60 days, like what Ross said. So as soon as you get your city permit, at that point now, you would have to get your CAD permits. So you would have everything ready to go, because you have your preliminary plat. So some people in this process, some people might just want to do the lots and sell them, okay? Some people might want to do the subdivision with the lots and then actually build their own homes. So if you wanted to sell them, as soon as she gives you your building permit for that subdivision, you could start marketing the lots.
So it could be just selling the lots, not actually building
Right,
also,
yeah.
so it
Choose
doesn't
to sell
matter,
lots.
you can choose,
Right.
okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Still did not answer my question.
Well, we don't control what the state does. I wish I could tell you, but the state can be a
Is the
little
state
bit.
the one that gets permission of the city?
The state gives you your building permits. You have to get building permits for the electrical, the plumbing, and the structure, unless you're doing a home built type, and you're not using contractors, then you have to take some testing and do some things to do that. So it can be expedited with them too, but that's their process. Okay, we're getting people through the city door to say, you're good to build. But it's doable. You can have everything you would need. So if you're gonna build your homes, you would have your plans all ready to go. You would meet with the state CID and they do a plan review. They approve the plans or tell you need to make some changes. Once those are done, you can get going. I mean, it just depends on how good of a job you do or your contractor does or, but the city process is what we control, JD. I wish we controlled the state process. We don't. Yeah, I wish I could tell you, we can tell them you have to sign your permit today. We don't have it.
And Commissioner Martinez, everything goes through CID, the Construction Industries Division.
I still don't have an answer though.
Oh, well, okay, so you would come, so if you were develop, let's say you were a property owner, you had 1 acre. And using this minor subdivision ordinance, you come to the Planning and Zoning Commission, you've met with the planning director, whomever that may be. You've met with them, you filled out the application, they explained to you or reviewed your application to make sure it complies with step 1, step 2, step 3, they're pretty easy. The planning director says, okay, you're ready to go, we're gonna post, because we have to post 15 days, we need to get you on the agenda, we're gonna get you on the next planning commission meeting ASAP. You're gonna go to planning commission, you're gonna get approval with conditions or denial. But let's say you got approval. So then you're gonna leave, and if you can work with your surveyor and get those changes made into a final plat within the next 2 or 3 days, you come back and see the planning director. You can have your building permit in less than 60 days, actually, I mean, within 45 days. But now, the hiccup that you're talking about is, so you got your final plat recorded, you got your building permit from the city, so now you need to work with a general contractor that's licensed by the state to start to build each unit. We don't do any, we used to in the past, we don't have a building inspector, so we don't do anything in-house. Back we did with Mr. Duran when Mr. Duran was here, but we don't have anyone to do that any longer.
I just don't wanna see anybody that wants to build something be, politically left behind. From one individual, from anywhere, be it the city or the state, they do their own thing. You just said they did their own thing.
Yeah.
Now we're at the city, where the city's smaller, everybody knows everybody. I just wanna make sure that the city does not stop, I wanna say the city, an individual that works for the city does not stop these people from being able to build a home.
I agree.
That's why it's gonna be
I
law.
want to see that in here.
Yeah, that's why when it gets adopted by the city
I
council,
wanna see it.
Well, by the commission, the city council, I mean, the city, the council's gonna
once
keep
you,
the ordinance, but.
yes, and once it gets to the city council and it's adopted as ordinance, it's law.
I wanna tell you an ugly story.
Okay,
In 1965, this guy got married to this girl and, her mother asked, what do we get in return to get our daughter? This guy said, I will build your daughter a house within the year. He came to the city to get the water hooked up for the house. A year later, it still wasn't hooked up. The mayor at the time did not like the fact that this person got this property. A year later, the permit to hook up the water to the property was $5. What the owner did of the property was, he supported someone else for mayor. And this other person won. The night of the election, both the ex-mayor and the new mayor hugged this homeowner. The ex-mayor said, "I should have hooked up your water within a week." The water, by the way, was hooked up the next day.
Did the guy buy a Corvette for their wife eventually?
Someday he did. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't wanna see that. If this man, Mr. Attention is a very nice man, I've known him for years, sometimes he forgets who I am, and that's okay. So I don't want someone not to like him to say, "Nah, we're not gonna do nothing for him."
Well, that'd be horrible.
I don't like it because one time I dropped $1 behind him and he claimed it was his.
Hopefully,
So I wanna make it big.
hopefully that we have progressed this.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the ordinance is gonna be a fast track for the ordinance,
Okay,
and that's gonna get people through the process, rather than it taking 6 months. He could have held the development, like, that's why the process to get approvals from the city is fast track,
Yeah, we went,
okay? It's gonna be a slick, real, nice, smooth process. It's still gonna hold people accountable, you'll see what the conditions are, there's conditions, but we're going through the incentives right now, just to kind of give you an idea.
And to simplify it and all, it says they're gonna just try to, speed the thing up, make it
Right.
easier to get the permit done here at the city level, but at the state level, there's no control here. It's at their level.
And normally a subdivision approval has to go before the council as well. So right now, for a minor subdivision, it just has to come to our body. So it just has to come to our level. And they don't have to come twice, normally there's 2 public hearings. They come for 1 public hearing with the preliminary, and then the final, she confirms as a director and issues them their building permit. And the building permit is a new permit, it's not to start construction, it's like, right now, if you come in and they sign off, they give you a paper that allows you to hook up electrical, water, and so on. That's what this does, this says, hey, this subdivision is approved, and you need to post this on the property so everybody knows it's been approved, and now you can go ahead and get your building permits, do the things you need. Okay?
But it still doesn't control Hennis and the electrical, so.
Well, you're exactly right.
And we
That's just how that works, you know.
Yeah, I've been waiting 8 months for electrical.
really?
8 months.
Yes, well,
Just for my
Well,
own
let me
edification.
make a phone call, let's find out what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, give me the address and we'll get it done, okay?
Alright.
That's unacceptable.
yeah,
And as I just wanna stress for the record, in my role as acting planning director and / community development director, my goal is economic development. So for these kind of projects to languish is unacceptable. We need to get these projects approved and out the door because the city needs the gross receipts tax, we need the property tax, we need the jobs that are gonna be generated by these construction of these developments. So for you, Mr. Chavez, to have waited 6 months, but I'm standing here shaking my head in disbelief. I don't know who was here at the time. I apologize to you, had this happened under my watch, that's unacceptable. That's not needed,
Water under the bridge.
you know?
Yeah.
but roll it first, then you jump, okay?
Okay, go ahead, Roland.
And for my own edification, because I missed the first part of this, but let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
When we're talking about minor subdivision, what is the intent of the word minor? Small,
Less than 5 houses.
less than 5 houses?
Less
And
than
we're gonna go into the next page, Roland, you're gonna see the minor subdivision criteria and conditions.
All
So
right,
that'll probably explain.
and I'm all for simplifying a process and making it easier in pro-business and what have you. But the only thing that, a comment that I have, somebody mentioned Santa Fe earlier. Santa Fe has a lot of subdivisions going on right now. apartment complexes, condos, what have you. People can't, the everyday ordinary people that grew up in Santa Fe or what have you can't afford to live in Santa Fe. I just wouldn't like to see that happen in Espanola. And more than that whatever subdivision regulations we approve, change, add, we can simplify the process, but certainly that it is a subdivision that's going to benefit not only the city, but all of the residents and people of the valley. Let me finish, because this is going to be
And
my
I will
point.
address it for you, because I'll answer it real quick for you.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I'll finish.
I dealt with this when I was running the tax department, and I hate for this to happen here. Individuals that do subdivisions, developers, okay, for example. Many are not from the area that they're developing. And once a development is approved, a subdivision is approved, and the development is constructed and undertaken, the developers get their money and they're out of town.
Sure.
Right? And if there are problems with that subdivision, i.e., land problems, a host of things that can happen. Rio Rancho is a prime example where they build big subdivisions along some of the arroyos, and then 10, 15, 20 years later, those arroyos are being eaten away because we get some heavy rains. The developer doesn't care and has no responsibility for that. So the homeowners that bought those homes are the ones that are saddled with that piece of property that may be having problems. And certainly I think we should have safeguards for that kind of stuff. I'm pro-development in such a way that it's orderly and that it's good for not only the city and our area, but also for the residents and the tenants that are going to be buying those things. Especially when you're building homes. Selling a piece of property, a different story, right?
So one of the things you missed at the beginning, so let's say you have an acre of R6 property. You can do this. This doesn't have to
Sure,
be
I
a
understand
development out of town. You can sell a lot to your 2 children or 3 children for $5.
Well,
That's
you may or
yours.
may not be able to, because there's other, there's other regulations that are in effect with regards to the different counties about being able to subdivide it.
Well, this is an Espanola subdivision.
Right.
Yeah. In the city of Espanola, we can control this.
So, yeah.
So you can subdivide your R6 acre, you can sell it to your children, you can sell it to strangers.
Well,
You don't have to build the homes, you can just sell the land, they can build their own homes.
Well,
So
all I'm saying is that we should make sure that we caution in that respect,
And your input would be highly regarded, so if you have any input on that, please provide it. And this is just a draft, so we're here to do a workshop to hear what your concerns are, so we can add as much to this as we possibly can.
Understand.
Go ahead, Mr. Salzar first. Go ahead, Jeff.
In the same aspect that Commissioner Borrego was talking about, there's also access to the properties too. If you have to cross somebody else's property, through a road or something like that, that has to be taken care or looked at too. In the first section talks about the safety issues, exactly what Mr. Borrego is trying to address. We gotta make sure that, people, if they buy a property, do they have access to the property?
Well,
I mean, maybe this isn't, maybe part of our city may be affecting it, but there's people that are being challenged right now by the pueblos.
but not everybody's gonna be able to do this, Joe. If you don't meet the conditions that you're gonna see on the next page,
Right,
you can't do it.
but I
Yeah.
see that in the next page, okay, so.
Well, it tells you what road width, so if you can't have 25-foot wide roads in the minimum, you can't do this.
Well, you can
Unless
build a road, but is it crossing somebody else's property? Are they?
Well, if you don't have easement, you shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
And you can't be landlocked in New Mexico either.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors there. So I mean,
Those
you know,
possibilities that could happen,
Yeah.
they're gonna be.
and when you buy the property, hopefully you get title insurance, you have to do your due diligence too as a property owner, right?
Exactly.
And you have
Just
title
like the gentleman
insurance.
that was trying to build over there by the union.
Yeah, now if you're talking about Native Americans stopping from traveling over that, again, we can't stop that.
Right.
And my uncle lost his house in Mount for exactly that reason. But you can't stop the roll from turning because of that could happen to one person.
So I understand where you're coming up with
Yeah.
that, if they're gonna be taken care of, but now let's go back, you mentioned earlier about those people in Santa Cruz that want to split their houses or property for their children. at that time saying they're gonna only be allowed to, for one house to be one size, but the other house had to be that
That's why
size.
this takes care of that.
Okay, but are they gonna be made aware of this?
Well, number one, they're R1, so that was kind of a, maybe
Is it a
that
different-
example. Yeah,
But
this is
could
only
they
for
change the
R6.
zoning to R6?
Well, that's up to the commission. They can come before you and see whether you get it changed to
But
R6.
are they gonna be made aware of this?
Well, that's the plan, yeah. You pass an ordinance, hopefully it'll get some press from the Rio Grande Sun. Hopefully we'll be delegates to get the word out. Hopefully, you know, I mean.
No, I'm just saying, in fairness to,
Yeah.
a ban, or like, to those individuals.
Well, you would hope that if somebody comes in and talks to Lou or the planning director, we would give them the information about all their options. I mean, our job as a city commissioner, as a city director, I think is to educate the public on what we got. You know, you wanna come do this, well, maybe that's not the way to do it, maybe you should do it this way. Tell them about the options.
My question is, are these people that went to that first process, are they gonna be made aware of this new process? That's all I'm saying, communication.
You can call and tell them, I mean,
I
it's.
don't know who the people are, but I think that the city, you know, is gonna make, gets approved.
I don't know if this makes the paper, I mean, it's pretty,
Yeah.
this is like really earth-changing for Espanola, man. I mean, in fact, it's kind of earth-changing for hopefully other small communities follow suit.
It's a great opportunity for us, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a good.
But if we can, let's let her go through the rest of the incentives, and I just wanted to interject.
We're trying to address, you know, the ones that have spoken to fairness, okay?
Yeah.
Commissioner Trujillo, may I just make a comment, Commissioner Salazar? I just wanna stress for the record, so if you are in R1 and you're smack dab in the middle, this is your lot in this R1 neighborhood, you're not gonna be able to come to planning and zoning for spot zoning. You're not gonna say, well, I wanna take advantage of this minor subdivision ordinance, so I wanna rezone my property to R6. That's not gonna happen.
But you could take it a step further and say, if the commission said, we see there's a need for more R6, we're gonna talk to the community about rezoning this R6 now.
That's
I
something.
mean, there's a lot of things to do when you're in charge of things, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of options.
That's a great point, I like that, just rezone the whole neighborhood,
You
but
could.
of course with public hearings and,
Yeah, and people agree, right?
yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so, Commissioner Borrego, you brought up a good point, but I agree with, I concur with Commissioner Trio, due diligence, there's title insurance, it's very, very important that, you work with a licensed and registered and, realtor, an ethical realtor,
Let's
you know,
hope, contract.
yeah,
Let's hope, huh?
Let's
Yeah.
go, yeah.
and so, you know,
Yeah.
that's sad what they had to do and, or what they're dealing with in Rio Rancho, and we're gonna try to avoid that here. Okay, so we're gonna go into the incentives and concessions. We were talking about reducing the application fee, which is currently $500. One of the biggest things that I think is exciting is reducing the lot size. Right now in an R6 zone designation, the minimum lot size is 7,500 square feet. So we're gonna reduce it to 6,000 square feet with this ordinance. So that's gonna allow us to get our smaller lots and the more density that we need. So this means that we're gonna need to reduce our setback requirements. Currently, our setback requirements, I believe, are 15, 5, and 10. And so in that sense, when we get into our criteria and conditions, those setback requirements have been reduced. I believe they've been reduced to 10 feet, which is required by the fire code. And when we get to that, I'll explain a little bit more on that 10 feet requirement. That's not 10 feet from the lot line to the structure, that is 10 feet from structure to structure. So if this is your lot line, this structure can be 7 feet away, and this structure can be 3 feet away from the lot line. As long as there's 10 feet, that's what the fire code. Because you know they're afraid of the fire jumping if there's fire in my structure. So if you look at it, here's your lot line, and if you're looking at a 10-foot minimum setback, you would have 10 feet here, and 10 feet here, so actually you would have 20 feet between structures. That's not gonna give us the density we want. So right now it's 10 feet between structures, okay?
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum,
You can still go further if you want.
Yeah.
That's just the minimum.
okay? So then what we're gonna do, also what this ordinance is proposing, is to relax and reduce development requirements, costs in regards to mandatory paving, street lighting, curb and gutter, and street width. There was a lot of discussion on this particular point on F. And when we get into conditions and criteria on the second page, we're going to talk about that, okay? G, discussion of a private-public incentive program. Currently, the city of Espanola has a LEDA ordinance, which is Local Economic Development Act. And it came out of the state Economic Development Office. And it is a tool in the toolbox. We're looking at different tools to help our community achieve economic development. And LEDA is one of those tools. This minor subdivision ordinance is a tool in the toolbox. So let me give you an example of a private-public incentive project that I'm working on right now. So I've been with Mayor Vigil and Mr. Yahtzee. We've been in discussions with Twilight Homes. And of course, that was with the leadership of Councilor Denise Benavides, because she's worked with them in the past, and she has a good working relationship. So she was able to facilitate a meeting and get them to come back to the city. Previously, they had been in the city, they had come to the city, and they were willing to work here, but something happened, and they walked away with a bad taste in their mouth. So we extended an olive branch and profusely apologized for whatever happened. I don't know what happened. We're sorry, please come back, we need housing. So as a result of those discussions, what is under discussion right now is using the LEDA Act. We're doing a public-private collaboration partnership with Twilight Homes, and it's in its infancy. It's still in discussion, but there is a piece of property in the plaza behind the bond house. There's typically a carnival that's set up there during fiestas. So one of the things that Twilight Homes would do is build, I believe, 6 townhomes on that piece of property. The city would provide the property to the developer with no upfront costs, so that the developer doesn't have that cost coming out of the gate. But on the back end, when the properties are sold or the houses are sold, then that money comes back to the city. So there would be townhouses there in the plaza on that lot. So that's one example of this minor subdivision ordinance kicking in on that particular lot. There's a lot. This is just something that I'm sharing with you. I know you have a million questions on this. Like I stated, it's in its infancy. And as I get more information, as I am involved in more discussions, I will share those with you. But that's one of the things that this minor subdivision ordinance would allow the city to develop these private-public partnerships. So under the minor subdivision criteria and conditions, so if you go to item number 1, subdivisions shall be located near or abut an existing developed city, state, or county road. Subdivisions shall have interior 25-foot roads that will be graded, paved, or gravelled, and subject to stormwater regulations. Currently, the city has under chapter 350, there's an entire stormwater regulation, and Mr. Fish will bring that up. If you could do it just a little in the search bar, stormwater regs, yeah, or drainage. I don't know, I forget which section it is in. While he's looking for that, are there any questions on this, on the minimum width? And that comes from the fire department. We need to be able to get a fire truck down that road. So we cannot have that interior road less than 25 feet. It will need to be graded, paved, or gravelled. And please keep in mind, item number one, because when we get down to item number 13, item 1 and 13 hold hands. They go together, okay? But we're gonna get to that in a few minutes. 2, subdivision must have a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet, excluding roads. So when you work with your surveyor and you do this subdivision and you bring that preliminary plat for review and approval by you, the planning commission, they are going to do the calculations. The calculations are going to be required. As we get to the next page, those calculations will be required to be on that plat for each one of the parcels or for each one of the lots, but they cannot include the square footage that the road is going to, that's required, okay? The subdivision shall not increase the total number of parcels by land by more than 5. So if you have 1 acre and it's R6, you already have, we're assuming you already have 1 structure. So it's going to be subdivided and you'll have a total of 6, but you cannot, you would only be able to divide it 5 times, including that 1, so you'll have a total of 6, okay? So I kind of want to make that clear, and I don't know if 3 articulates that well enough, and it's probably as clear as mud, but I just want to make sure that during the subdivision process, you're not getting more than 5 additional lots out of that acre, for a total of 6. Maybe that's something that I could say. For more than, no parcels of land by more than 5 for a total of 6. Okay. Subdivision shall only be allowed in the zoning designation urban residential R6 district. Subdivision shall only be permitted on parcels with access and connection to city water and wastewater infrastructure. Subdivision shall follow city, state, and federal housing building standards and shall be a minimum size of 1,200 square feet, 1,250 square feet, site-built homes, not to exceed the city's height requirements of more than 2 stories and not to exceed 35 feet total height. 35 feet is what's in the code right now for an R6. Subdivision shall submit a landscaping plan, and that is in the city's chapter 350, article 13, section 1304. The landscaping plan will, and I think you left that out, Commissioner Trio. The landscaping plan, I'm going to add this right now. The subdivision shall submit a landscaping plan for front and backyard. Now, we're not talking about, going out and hiring someone to do your landscaping. As long as you bring the minimum landscaping plan for review to the commission, we just want to see what you intend to do with that piece of property. Are you going to plant some trees? Are you going to put some flower beds? We just don't want a weed patch out there is what we're looking for, okay? Subdivisions shall commence construction within 9 months and shall be built out in less than or equal to 5 years. We spent hours on this particular point because if somebody comes to you and asks for permission and gets approval for this subdivision, we just don't want it languishing. The intent of this is economic development. We want to get shovels in the ground. We want to get these homes built. So we don't want someone to be a speculator and say, you know what, the market is kind of iffy right now. If I hold on to it for another 5 or 6 or 7 years or 3 years, I could probably get more money for that lot. We want projects to start hitting the ground right now. So that's why we have 9 months. That gives you enough time to work with the funding source, the banks, do whatever you need to do to get your working capital, and it shall be built out equal to or less than 5 years. So we want this subdivision, these 5 new homes, to be built in 5 years. So if you are doing this yourself, this gives you a a phasing plan of one house a year. Okay,
So why don't we change that, build
Okay.
out, that wording to read something like shall be built and completed in less than or equal to 5 years?
okay, shall be built and completed, okay,
So in other words, you got 5 years to complete it,
yes,
period. And, you know, as we go through some of this, it's just a minor thing, but when you use the word shall versus must, shall gives you some leeway. Legally.
Mhm.
Must doesn't.
okay. Do you want must?
You might,
Yeah, I think I agree with you,
alright, I'm just throwing that out,
okay,
because there's a lot of shall in here, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But if you require it, it must be done, then there's no fudging.
Okay, okay, so I don't have a problem with that. We really want this done in 5 years.
Yeah, that's,
And we talked about it at length and in an effort to be fair and realistic in regards to a property owner having to have access to working capital. We felt that 1 unit a year was fair, okay? So, Commissioner Borrego, I will strike the word shall, I will insert the word must, and I will strike out, I will strike out in less than or equal to, and I will state built and completed in 5 years.
well.
Or built out and completed in 5 years.
You just say built and completed in less than or equal to.
Okay,
I mean, they can complete it in a year, 2 years, 3 years, but
Yeah.
no more than 5 years,
okay,
right?
yeah. So I'll do that.
And that's for all 5 units, Mr. Borrego?
I mean, if that's what our goal is, you don't want somebody to come in and start, and 10 years later, they're still, you know.
Yeah,
One question is, do the incentives run out? Because on A, it says that no water or sewer connection fees for the first 3 years after adoption, so if they're gonna take 5 years, then this incentive is gone for sewer and water.
For a couple of them, yeah. They wanna get it done quick, right?
Yeah, you want to.
So the incentive up
So they don't have an
front
incentive, it's
says
after 5 years,
after 3 years.
after 3 years, sorry, yeah.
Because the
So shouldn't
initial one
we-
is 3 years.
Say built within, or the incentives will be added longer, or
No,
building less.
We were trying to create excitement, we're trying to get people to get started and get moving. So I mean, if you don't want your utility, you'll just pay utility bills.
no,
After the
Yeah, so
fourth year,
after the
fifth year.
3rd year, you come in and say on the 4th year, you gotta pay utility bills.
Okay,
but Commissioner Trujillo, Commissioner Chavez, please read that sentence, okay? It says, after adoption of the ordinance. So if this gets adopted this year, 2022, this connection fee incentive goes away in 3 years. It sunsets in 3
yeah,
years.
that's what they're saying. And
Yeah.
after the,
I mean,
Not
if they
3
were-
years after your minor subdivision has been approved.
No, it's after this is adopted. It's like a gold rush. There's
Right.
gold in hills, we wanna come in and
We
start doing
wanna get
things.
everybody here in these
so
3 years.
hopefully within 3 years, they finish that to get this incentive.
Yes.
Not the 5 years.
Well, not, they'll just have to pay, cause you hook up your homes as you build it, right? You get a hook fee that you pay your home fee then.
Okay.
The interesting part about all this is finding the workers to go build all these houses, and it does happen, boom,
I know.
and there's no workers.
It's
They're all working in Los Alamos.
It's a lot of challenges.
Right.
Not true. Twilight Homes in Santa Fe built probably 70 homes last year in a neighborhood that I frequent, and they had no shortage of workers.
They're a good company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good company,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, my daughter in Rio Rancho, I mean, her house was the first one, then all of a sudden there's like 500
Yeah,
houses.
it
Exactly.
creates a windfall, man.
They pop up overnight, they do, they really do. Okay, so 5 years, 1 house a year, just to be realistic and work with a developer. If they can get them done in 3 years, or even if they can build all 5 houses in 1 year, that's better, that's what we want. Approved subdivision, I'm looking at item number 9. Approved subdivision final plat shall be recorded within 30 days of planning and land use director's approval. And of course, the final plat is only the final plat after it's come to you and it's gone through the public hearing process and you've given conditions. The applicant goes and works with their surveyor their engineer, their architect, brings and implements those conditions, brings them back to the planning director, and then the planning director signs off on that. Okay? But that has to be done in 30 days.
So can we also change shall to will?
Uh,
Only because we saw what happened with that trailer court where they never recorded the properties and all those people had to come 20 years later to get their property recorded.
yeah,
Good point.
okay, so we're gonna strike the word final plat shall, and we're gonna, did you want me to insert must?
Will.
Will, okay, will. Okay. Okay, any other recommendations for item number 9? Okay, we're gonna go to 10. Subdivision will have side and rear setbacks to allow for no more than 10 feet,
No less.
no less than 10 feet between structures. And I explained to you that's the best that we could do because that is required by the fire code. Front setback shall be a minimum of 15 feet to either a front fence or the structure. And 15 feet is what's required to place one car, to park one car. And then also that gives us our clear sight triangle. So if you're pulling out of that driveway, that fence can't be within 15 feet of the edge of the front of the property because you need to be able to pull out on the street and have a clear sight of traffic that's oncoming. Subdivision must provide a minimum of 2 parking spaces for each home and will have no on-street parking. Now, one of the things that we discussed on this one is because the lots are small at 6,000 square feet, and because this ordinance is gonna allow them to go up 2 stories, one of the things they could do is have the first floor as a garage and a living area, maybe the kitchen or something, and then the bedrooms upstairs. So that takes care of 1 car, and then the second car can park out front of the house within that 15 feet. But they can't park out in the street. No on-street parking. Subdivision must provide soil analysis by a New Mexico licensed geotechnical engineer. So Commissioner Borrego, we covered your concern because we don't want people building in the arroyos, we don't want people building on sand. And so we want to protect their investment. When you buy your home, that's the biggest investment you're going to make in your life. And so we want to protect that. So now I said that 1 and 13 go together, they hold hands. So now you as the applicant and the subdivider have designed your subdivision so that it's configured to the lot that you have right now, and you provided the 25-foot roads. So working with Jordan, one of the things that he stated could be one of the incentives is that if you, the developer, build the water and the wastewater infrastructure to our standards, which are in the code, the city will adopt that within 12 months upon completion. So that's a significant savings to the property owner and the developer. And last but not least, because we're looking for aesthetics and we're looking for safety, if the fire truck needs to have access to your property, we want all utilities to be below surface. So Hemis would bring the power right to your property, but then everything would have to be trenched and underground. Okay, that way we don't have issues with the fire trucks and stuff like that.
Question,
Yeah.
if there's a lot, let's say what happened here in south, in Santa Cruz, also by the theater up there, for the South Cruz. There were lots out there, the people are complaining, well, we don't have sewer lines going all the way up there, or we don't have water lines going up there. Is the city gonna provide that for them to be able to meet this criteria?
That's item number 5. So when you look at item number 5, subdivision shall only be permitted on parcels with access and connection to city water and wastewater infrastructure. What we have right there. So if somebody comes in 5 years with an application for a minor subdivision and the city has developed that area, we've got money, all of a sudden the city won the lottery.
If I ask you a question, do you have any idea if the city has worked? I know they put out contracts to get the sewer lines going up to the Santa Cruz area. Has that been, is that being addressed?
That's, I have a meeting scheduled, the following week, the week after Labor Day week. And that's something that's coming up. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is going to be an agreement signed between the city and the Pueblo of Santa Clara on the 13th of September to address that very issue for right-of-way access to those homes there by the Dreamcatcher and where you're talking about in Sembrio.
That's a dream catcher, now we're
Yeah.
talking Santa Cruz.
Good. Okay.
That's-
No, I don't know anything about that.
There was a contract that, there was put in place and then it got dropped.
Okay, I can follow up and maybe we can bring it back to life. Maybe they ran out of money, I don't know. So you're telling me, Commissioner Salazar, that there was infrastructure to Santa Cruz?
Well, it's supposed to be getting complete, you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I do, I don't know if it was ever
Across
submitted.
from the country store in Santa Cruz, those homes there
They
still
worked
don't
on
have.
the water, but I don't know.
Okay, now I'll follow up
I
on
don't
that.
know if they ever did it or not.
Yeah, I know. So,
But if they don't have it, they can't participate.
Exactly, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so your concern is addressed by number 5,
Right.
okay? So we're gonna move on.
Well, are there any other criteria, conditions, cause when we approve these processes, when they come before us,
I'm really pleased with the lot size, that's.
you like that?
Oh,
Anything
yes.
else you want to see that maybe we need to add as a condition, or we try to cover as many bases as we can and still keep it pretty simple.
What about F on the incentive and then 1 on the page that we're looking at now? Cause 1, it's kind of, looks like it's contradictory.
Okay,
One says they're gonna relax, reduce development requirement costs in regards to mandatory paving, street lights, curbs. And then the other one on number 1 says subdivision shall have interior, and will be graded, paved, and gravel.
Or gravel. You can still pave if you want to.
So it shall be either graded, paved, or gravel.
And subject to stormwater. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you are doing your subdivision, okay, you have a subdivision. Some people may want to pave the roads. You know, that might be a selling point to them. But you have to at least gravel, and they have to be graded, either way they have to have acceptable stormwater.
So it shouldn't be required that it should be paved?
No, it doesn't, no.
No.
Because when you have a community development, I would assume people would want your streets paved and maintain these.
Well, this is coming off of the city street, state road, that's paved, right? And you can enter subdivisions in little places like in Santa Fe that'll have gravel road, like our road, all gravel all the way down. It's not just curb where it gets muddy, it has to be a road that's maintainable.
So you don't want them paved at this
It's too
point,
expensive, Ross.
or curved in gutter?
Yeah,
It would be great,
Because
but it would be a selling point.
Homes in dirt, and who's gonna maintain the gravel and all that within time?
I think there was
Who's gonna
talk
maintain
about
the
having
roads?
an HOA type of.
I mean, we want safety, we want lighting, doesn't it say about lighting too?
yeah,
Street
we're
lighting?
not requiring all that stuff, no. That's
Is
what's,
that a safety issue
that's
too?
what required in the major subdivision.
Now, that's something
Street
that
lighting?
Mr. Atensio's subdivision, where that's a major subdivision, and that's when all of those requirements kick in. So Mr. Atensio's subdivision would be required to have the paving, the curb, the gutter, the sidewalk, the street lights. This is just a tool, one tool, and I agree with you. But let's say you have 1 acre and your intent is to actually put it on the market to sell it. So if you would do the minimum, you're gonna sell. But if you would do the paving and you would do the lighting and you would do all this other stuff, then your subdivision is gonna be worth a lot more and you can get more money for it. You know, but the intent of this is to encourage development.
I just don't wanna suffer in other areas.
Yes.
We're gonna give them too many incentives and the houses aren't gonna be desirable for newcomers out of state to buy or whatever for San Antonio.
Well, that's what this is, Commissioner Chavez, is a workshop, and I'm not discounting or diminishing what you,
Yeah,
it's valid. What would you want? Let's adopt it right now.
Yeah.
Would you have a minimum of one street light? Would you
well,
want,
safety issues, you know, if it's gonna be a subdivision.
let's put
I
it
would
in
say-
there. You want one
It's
street
whatever you
light?
guys think also, you know.
I mean, one way to provide lighting, it's a small area, of course, we're not talking about 50 homes or 60 homes.
About 5-6 houses.
5 houses, 6 houses, so,
So,
I mean, you could have, Hennes will come put a security light pole, I mean.
You want that to be a requirement?
Well, I mean, but that's something, again, the more you pile on, we're just adding costs, so just keep that in mind.
We don't wanna
It's
give
something-
away too much, I mean, we still wanna make sure that they're quality areas.
Oh,
Not
of
just the
course.
homes, not just the
You create
homes.
quality neighborhoods too.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from because, you know, if you just grade a road and it's muddy and it rains.
Well, that's be gravel,
You have a problem.
that's.
who's gonna
Now, if
maintain
you-
it?
If you have base core and you have gravel, well, that's a little bit better.
So those are private drives in interior, you would have, again, road agreements. Just like my road, we have road agreements, we have to, amongst ourselves, maintain the road, pay for it to be maintained. I mean, that's how that normally works.
Or you have nice neighbors.
Well, but it doesn't work that way, JR. I mean, when somebody,
Yeah,
I mean, if you have somebody that, you know, is responsible and professional and wants to do a good job, fine. Many of those things can happen if you have no requirements. But if you have somebody that's all looking to just buy and sell and make money, they're not gonna wanna spend any money in paving and gravel and grading and what have you. I mean, that's just the way life is. So I understand your concern, I'd have the same concern. If I was developing an acre with 5 homes and it was all muddy when it rains and, I mean, I got my money and I left, I could care less, you know what I mean? There are many of those kinds of individuals, especially in today's world.
and
So
then
I
the
don't
people
know if
that
we
buy
have a
the home,
responsibility
some don't wanna
to-
buy it.
I mean, you don't wanna, your point, and the point of this is not to burden so much the person that's developing, right? To make it,
Or we wanna make it
Simpler
cost-effective
and cost-effective. but I think we also have a responsibility to make sure that we don't create neighborhoods that are, you know, not desirable.
Light.
True.
Blight, I mean, we have situations already in the city where there are homes where there's no parking, they park on the road, there's 3 or 4 cars on the sidewalk. You know, so I think that we should, you know, look at that, but how do you do that and not make it a burden? I don't know, I mean, you have to weigh one and the other, no?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I mean, people are.
All that is added on to the price of the home.
Normally,
So, you know, it's not a burden so much to the individual, but to the buyer. And it's a good quality neighborhood for our city, to attract newcomers. You know, we have, Mr. Hensel that mentioned that many people are gonna wanna move into this valley because they're hiring so many people in Los Alamos. We want good quality
well, it's not
neighborhoods.
only that, it's, Santa Fe is not affordable for people.
And
Los
yes,
Alamos not that affordable for people either. You know what I mean?
so let's think about it.
Los Alamos is in
Yeah.
the.
We can
Right.
think about it.
You know?
Like me personally, I hate paving, I can't stand paving. I don't like the way it looks, I don't like the way it cracks, I don't like the way it turns out, I don't like the way it smells. I like a nice gravel road in my house. And the people that live by me agree, there's a lot of people that don't like paving. And you can
Mr.
say,
Borrego's point too, you know, it gets muddy, who's gonna maintain
go
it?
to, go
Some
to,
neighbors
go
are,
to the
some aren't.
Starlighter subdivision, have you been there? The whole damn thing is collapsed because it's paved, you can't drive on it because the damn
Well,
pavement.
who's responsible to maintain it?
So,
Well, that's the
This-
problem.
these are gonna be private drives, in that case, that's a city road, right?
So the city's to blame.
Yeah, but they're not private, they are, once you develop and sell it, I mean, they're private to who?
It's a private drive.
You got 5
By
houses,
the owners.
you got 6 houses there, so is it
Yeah.
private to each one of them?
He's not.
Is it part of the
I'll give you an
subdivision?
example to mine. when you drive through the property, when you're driving through the first acre, you have a permanent easement to that property. That part of the road is owned by the property owner. When you drive to the next parcel of land, that piece of property, he owns it, but you have a permanent easement. It's a road. It's designed to give travel back and forth.
Or the main road. But if one of those people on the way down doesn't maintain that area, then you got a problem, right?
Well, you could potentially have a problem with anything.
You know, you're a responsible owner and you've got a nice home and what have you. And not everybody's like that. You know, in our area, where I've got the house now, years ago when I bought there, it was dirt and kind of washboard. I hated it. I mean, we all finally got together and got the county to pay it, you know, much better. They just we have to be on them to maintain it. But I mean, all I'm saying is that we have to have some responsibility when we adopt something that we're not creating some blighted areas and some, and you know, people are people, man. They'll come in here and say, I wanna buy that piece of property, I can build 6 homes on it, or I can subdivide it 4 or 6 homes, give me my money, I'm gone, and you know what I mean? It does happen.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's a lot of need for affordable housing all over the place, but, you know, when you build stuff in communities like Santa Fe under the guise of affordable housing, there's nothing affordable about it. Those apartments and complexes that are going up all over the place, you know, in some of the barrio areas where people grow up, that people come and buy, and then they put these monstrosities in their apartments, condos, and what have you. You know, the medium rent starts at $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. There's nothing affordable about that. So a lot of those people will be looking at the Espanola Valley, if they can buy something less expensive, to come and live here because they work in Santa Fe and Los Alamos. I mean, I'm talking about the working class people. You certainly want them to come here, it's gonna help everything, but you want to have, you know, nice, responsible areas.
Sure.
So,
I agree.
I understand where you're coming from, because that would be a concern.
So Charlene first, then you, Jamie.
I think there should be some incentive for the homeowners or the land developer to also say, either, because we're offering them incentives for city utilities, why couldn't we also throw in something that says, maintenance of street, whether it's a dedicated city street, and they do the application prior to the development, or there's something where they have to make sure that, they have the proper base course and that, and something in the incentive to make them maintain the road.
So there's some discussions. So number one was the HOA discussion. Say, well, you know, I own homes in Albuquerque and other places, and you can't buy a place without an HOA, actually. And they can be as elaborate or as simple as you can imagine. In my case, they're sort of simple. They maintain the roads and whatnot, okay? Jordan's had a hiccup with that. He didn't really like the HOA idea. Too hard to create for the property owners. I don't agree with that. The second thing we talked about was, and this is gonna be written in the ordinance, the rights ordinance, whatever incentive they take advantage of, that money, they have to put back into the property some way. They can't just put it in their pocket. So we're gonna save them X amount of dollars in the paving fees, they have to show us, or not the paving fees, in the utility hookup fees, for example, they have to show us how they're gonna use that to beautify or do something in the neighborhood. Whether it's add street lighting or whatever, okay? And everything is based off your approval. When they come before you, you could say, well, you know what? That's a pretty dark area over there, you're not in any city streets, there's no city lighting, so we're gonna require that you put a couple of security lights in there. Those are things that the commission can still do, right? So basically, the ordinance gets people to come apply, and when you're approving the process, you can place conditions. And every piece of property is different. You might have someone putting in a nice area, let's say they're able to buy a 1-acre piece by Los Arbolos, and they're gonna do 5 homes there. And that might be different than somebody that's buying an acre maybe in the little less nicer area like down here in the Rio Grande Sun, and they wanna build little This isn't saying you can't make them do that, or there can't be conditions on that, right? This kind of leaves some room there for you to navigate through that.
So could that be added in? So at the planning and zoning commission discretion, depending on where the neighborhood is.
Well, you can, anything we approve can have conditions.
Whenever we adopt this ordinance and it says that they're gonna be lax on paving and lighting and gutter, then that's what's adopted, right?
Well, not necessarily,
So then we
because,
can change it after. If they come before planning and zoning and say, you know what?
We're relaxing conditions, we're leaving it vague enough to where we're relaxing curb and gutter, but in this case, you gotta put security lighting.
What we could do is just strike F.
Yeah, JD,
Yeah, straight.
strike F.
Strike F, just remove it completely.
Let JD say his feelings, yeah.
Why is the builder paying for the sidewalks, curbing, pavements and lighting?
That's just how it's done, JD.
You wanna sell a house, you have to do those things.
You have to do the infrastructure.
All question,
Yeah.
who paid for the sidewalks, curbing, pavement and lighting on the streets we have now?
Well, that's different, because those are city
No, it's not
streets.
different, it's a question that I'm asking.
They're city streets, right, so the municipality pays for that.
Well, if they're dedicated streets.
Dedicated. So that means then that the home buyers will not be able to buy very expensive homes in the valley. It's gonna be as expensive as Santa Fe. Isn't there something that the city with this greater budget can help build streets?
So when you get into curb and gutter, now you're talking about 40-foot wide streets. And
Okay,
that kind of takes away the opportunity to take an R6, 1 acre, and put 40-foot wide streets in for all these things. So when you start adding all these, it just makes things a little different, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so we're telling them, look, you only have an acre of property. You gotta put a 40-foot wide street with all these things on there. You don't have much left over for any homes.
but at 25 feet, if a builder builds it, it's okay?
Yeah,
And if it's a city that does it, it's.
No, well, yeah,
Okay.
there's different conditions, yeah, there sure are. For main drives, there are main streets. These are our private drives, they're a little narrower for that reason. They still can fit emergency equipment through there.
The way the code is written, Commissioner Martinez, with a major subdivision or the subdivision act, that's just, we're taking a little piece of that act and we're gonna do this minor subdivision, is a developer has to develop the infrastructure on that, in that subdivision. Underground, sewer, water, streets, curb and gutter, lights. The city doesn't do that in that subdivision.
It's gonna cost more, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Well, I think that.
well, that's why, oh, she's not, I'm sorry.
And no, I'm just saying, I think that the discussion is a good one, and that's why we're having this workshop. So you can gather your thoughts, because these comments you have are gonna be directed to Lou, so we can put the final together, right? So it would be nice to.
I'm writing everything down.
Yeah, to have all your ideas and say, you know what, I'm gonna send Lou a email says, no, I think everything has to be paid. And then when we all get together again, we're gonna talk about everything again.
Yeah.
Because, so it gets approved. I mean, everybody's ideas and comments make sense. Yes, sir.
Okay, and if we make that requirement of putting in painting, at least the painting, all right? If it comes to snow clearing and stuff like this, is that gonna be the city that's gonna be providing
No, it's
that
private
service,
driving.
or is it
Private
themselves?
No,
You know,
no,
there's another thing that we have to look at. I would like Mr. Porter said, you know, they pave the road to his house, it comes out nice. But is it your responsibility as a group that for the county to?
Not now, because, you know, the neighborhood got together, we were finally able to get the county to do it, so. the
But to
county
clear the
pays
road,
it.
to clear the road.
Well, they, you know, when it snows, they send the grader once in a while, they sand the streets, but they're paved.
Right.
Much nicer for us, because you don't have all that.
And that's what will eventually
You know
happen.
what I mean?
No,
And that was gravel, or i.e. gravelled road or graded road before, but I mean, it was like a washboard, you know what I mean? I hated it because I hate to drive on
But
something
it
like
is a
that.
dedicated county
Dust
road.
and,
I live on a dedicated city paved highway, street. We're responsible for clearing our own. The city does not come to clear the snow. Once in
What city-
25
what city
years,
is
once in 25 years, they have come to clear the snow. And that's when we have the huge snow drifts. Other than that, it's up to us to clear the street. If we wanna get
Let's
out.
leave it out.
So that's how you drive the big van.
So when you're talking to developers, the only reason it was put in was to let them know that, see, right now with our current ordinance, every subdivision, even one with 3 lots, 3 houses, you have to follow the major subdivision ordinance. And that requires all those heavy-duty type responsibility, okay? So when we were talking to Twilight Homes, not me, but when they were talking to Twilight Homes, a lot of counties and communities are going to these minor subdivision rules and regs to do exactly what we wanna do, provide infill, get people to come in and do things in their community. I'd rather have a cycle home and a trailer on a dirt road, I can tell you that right now. You know, I think it'd be nice to see some more durable type housing, you know, and I wish that, we were like Los Alamos, cause Los Alamos is badass, excuse the French. You know, it's a beautiful place, they got a ton
they
of
got a lot
money.
of federal money.
So I know,
Federal bucks.
do we have it? No, we don't. Okay.
They also have
So-
multi-millionaires living there.
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes there are some concessions, but you're right, we don't wanna create public safety hazards, we don't wanna create any problems, we wanna create positive.
Now, I just wanna bring back, under criteria and conditions, remember I told you number 1 and number 13 hold hands? So if you are the property owner and the developer, and you do a graded and gravelled road, and in 12 months, the city accepts your infrastructure, dedication, that's not the road dedication.
Right.
That's the infrastructure below ground dedication. So we need to go in there and dig up the street to work on your water line or your sewer line. It's gonna be a lot easier for the city to dig that up if it's a gravel or a graded road versus it being paved, and it's gonna save the city.
I'm gonna just say something.
Okay.
And it might not be totally correct anymore, but this is how it used to be. When the city adopted, okay, the infrastructure, they were responsible for maintaining that road, okay? So I'm gonna have to share with Jordan and see if that's how it still works, cause that might be who would be responsible for making the road and keeping it, like Bone Cutter Lane, they go grade the road. They do, I own the road, it's a dirt road, and it has city utilities, so that, because the city is there, they have to maintain the easement that they have by grading the road.
Right.
They just have to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll verify that,
Yeah.
okay, but this is a good discussion, and I think about it and see how we can add that to accomplish this goal.
And I concur
How
with,
wide is Bone Cutter Road, like,
About 25 feet.
really?
and I agree with your concern because this is a legacy project for this commission. This is something that commissioners in 20, 25 years from now are still gonna be using this tool. So they're gonna say, you know, this body today spent a lot of time on this. They were very diligent, they thought about it, there was a lot of discussion. So let me give you an example. So when Valley Estates, let's say, I'm just using that as one of the subdivisions in town. Valley Estates, 30 years ago, I mean, that developer's long gone, either moved out, passed away, whatever. So who's responsible for that? I know they have an HOA, but you have to look at something like this 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
So could we say, if you're gonna have a minor subdivision, you have to create an HOA? I mean, it's easy to do, I don't have a problem with them, I mean, I really
But
don't.
an HOA can be,
Yeah.
I mean, the limit can be set, it doesn't have to be $500 a month per household. It can be $500 a year per household for maintenance for the road. I mean, it can be very specific
Yeah, so
per
I-
HOA.
I don't have a problem with HOA, I think HOA is a great way to be, because that way you take care of the dead, you know.
You take care of the weeds, you take
yeah.
care of the parked
All that
cars,
stuff.
you take care of all of that.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think an HOA is a great idea.
What do you guys think about that?
I don't like HOAs.
You don't like it? That's a, you're coming
I
into.
pay 3 HOAs and out in Rio Rancho,
You know, the,
and $45 is basically what I pay a month.
A
But
month?
do they take care of the weeds and the streets and the,
common areas,
you know, all the stuff?
Yeah, they do,
Okay,
they
so,
do, but it was paved and it was the sidewalks already too.
yeah.
This one's, you don't want any pavement, you don't want any sidewalks.
when we
just
were,
wanna maintain the bumps that are gonna take
when we
place.
were
Well,
talking,
can we put limitations of what the HOA require, to be, maybe no sidewalks, but at least maintaining the road.
well, like, you know, when you have an HOA, it's a homeowners association,
Right.
okay? So you have 5 homes, they vote in a president, they vote in bylaws, they create their own rules, right? And like the ones that we participate in, hey, if your weeds are this high, they come give you a citation, you gotta cut your weeds. You know, if you have your car parked on the road, they give you a citation, you gotta move the car.
This is in Rio Rancho or Albuquerque.
I know, but
I don't think
well,
HOA
that's
is
why-
here.
okay, but
That's my opinion.
But we're trying to attract people from out of state. This, I think, would attract more people to know that they're gonna have a clean neighborhood, a maintained road.
But why not just pave it in sidewalks, or just pave it at least?
who's gonna maintain the paving? And then you have to have wider roads, that's the thing.
Well, it says right here, 25 foot, and they shall be, where is it?
Okay, you get 25 foot, that's the road, that's what people drive on. Now, if you add a curb and gutter on each side, sidewalks,
The curb and gutter's not gonna be any
that's a
further.
standard road. 25 foot, yeah, it's
Cause
just
you have the
enough
25 foot and you got curb and gutter and paved, it's still, what, pretty much 26 feet.
So I think we're, in an effort to keep the discussion moving and we're running out of time, I think, if I get this correct, Commissioner Chavez, what you're telling me is that under criteria conditions, item number 1 is contrary to letter F under incentives and concessions. And because if I read number 1, it says roads, 25-foot roads that will be graded, paved, or gravelled, okay? So the developer, the property owner can pave that road if they wish, okay?
And the road is 25 feet.
Yeah, it's 25 feet and it's paved. Now, when we go to letter F, it says one of the concessions is to relax or reduce the development requirements, the costs in regards to mandatory paving. See, and that's the buzzword. Right now, it's mandatory in a subdivision, in the subdivision ordinance. If you look at number 1, you can choose between graded, paved, or gravelled as a property owner or developer. So this relaxes, F relaxes those requirements in a subdivision, the way it's written right now, to you, the property owner developer, choosing graded, gravelled, or paved.
Well, it's contradictory though, because it talks
Yeah.
about street width, and we're already telling that the street width has to be 25
Well, because the
feet.
street width is 40 something.
Right now, it's 40 feet.
So it's relaxing it from 40 to 25.
Oh, we should say that, because that's contradictory, the language there is contradictory. Saying we relax, reduce development requirements, costs in regards to mandatory paving, street lighting, curb and gutter, and street width.
And there's other things too in this, well, we can just strike F.
So you could
Hey, we can
strike
strike
that out.
F, just take F out.
You want to strike
Just
letter
strike
F?
F out.
Okay.
Or, or.
Because the list would be very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So just
well,
strike
we'll
F.
put all the details.
Yeah, so just strike F, because it's a lot of.
Oh, there's a lot of requirements in a subdivision.
But I mean, we can show what they need to do, we just want, again, incentives are nice to let people know that, hey, this is a neat thing to consider because we're reducing these things. But we
Okay.
can strike that,
Okay.
you
So
know,
for-
Yeah,
For
well,
my notes, I'm gonna
incentives are,
strike
you
it
get
out.
some, you get something back in return. Tax incentives, for example, you get incentives to do something, but the return is that you're going to create jobs, you're going to create a tax base, better, same thing here, right? That's why we wanna give them incentives, we want them to come and subdivide there and build homes,
right, housing, yeah.
right, provide housing.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next page. The time for the record is 7:20. We'll wait for, do you wanna continue, Chair Trier, or do you wanna wait for Commissioner Chavez? He just stepped out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we still
We'll just wait for him so that
Yeah.
he's, do you wanna continue moving?
Yeah.
We still have the form, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minor subdivision application
Application,
process. So just to go over, where we're at in this process, we have listed the purpose, we've listed the incentives, we listed the conditions and criteria. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about the process that we talked about being expedited, so.
Okay, so the minor subdivision application process. So following the pre-application review meeting, and that meeting, I guess, let me write that in there, that would be with the planning and land use director. Whoever that might be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. The subdivider shall submit to the planning and land use department a completed written application on prescribed forms. The city will not accept an application that does not include the following. The minor subdivision, it does not include, so we're gonna strike one, because the
The application process, you have to have the application, so it's number
So
one
one
should be
thing
that.
one, okay,
yeah,
minor
you have to,
subdivision
yeah.
application?
Yeah, you
Okay.
have to give you an application.
Okay, so then you have your processing fee in accordance with the city fee schedule. Check is to be made out to the city of Espanola. Now, because we are going to reduce that for $500 requirement, that's going to be $65. So I should state that in there. Processing fee of.
We'll have a fee schedule, we just haven't drawn it up.
Okay, the fee schedule?
Yeah.
It'll be $65. The agent authorization form, which means the property owner has given Lou Baker permission to move forward in regards to the subdivision on their property. I'm just giving that, I wouldn't do that as a city official, but just a property owner needs to give Jane Doe or John Doe permission to work on their behalf in regards to their property. The preliminary plat needs to be 24 by 36 Mylar and 3 24 by 36 hard copies. And that needs to be to scale. Any surveyor, engineer, architect, this is basic information for them. A statement as to the deed restrictions on the subject property, and the landscape plan shall be submitted with the application. Preliminary plat requirements. The preliminary plat shall include all information required to confirm that the minor subdivision plat will meet the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plat must include elements of the planning and land use department, the development review team, and other city departments, and the planning and zone commission must have in order to determine whether this minor subdivision is approvable. The preliminary plat must be drawn to scale. Lots must show dimensions and setbacks. The road locations and right-of-way widths must be shown. The right-of-way dedications on internal roads shall be noted. Landscaping plans shall be detailed. Storm drainage management would be shown. Must include elevations and drainage plan, but shall be prepared by a licensed New Mexico engineer and shall conform to the city design standard. And I'll add in there standard in chapter 350. Project shall have lots numbered in consecutive order and location of 911 addressing. Deed references showing where subdivider acquired title to the property. Now the surveyor would do all of that homework, and that when you look at the preliminary plat, there's typically an entire section on the right side under notes, and the surveyor will reference every page and number of every deed that shows the line of ownership for that particular piece of property.
So on number 8, that word where, can you strike that?
Okay,
Yeah, deed record. We don't care where he got, but we do care that he does have title to the property.
okay, so then.
Or a letter allowing you to work on your behalf, right?
Well, that was taken care of above, right? Agent's authorization form.
Okay. I striked where. Number 9, statement clarifying whether the property is in the center of a sequoia, stream or creek, or the traverse line on lots abutting in a sequoia, stream or creek. My intent here, there was a lot of discussion that went into it. I know we don't have streams, and I know we don't have creeks in the city of Espanola. but my intent is to preserve the acequias that we have in the community. And so this is a good way to make sure that we have our setbacks for the right of way for the acequia on that piece of property. We can strike stream or creek if we want. I know we don't have them, but the intent is to preserve the acequias.
So what are we trying to say then?
Okay, so stakes, oh, go ahead.
But we do have a stream or a creek in Santa Cruz, and Santa Cruz is part of the city.
Okay,
So,
oh, good point, yes, yeah, okay.
yeah, so we do have that.
Stream or creek, okay, so we can leave that. Or the traverse line on lots of budding and acequia, stream or creek, yeah, thank you, I forgot about that, okay. I'm so used to doing everything over here on the west side.
And we have, we have the river, so
Yeah.
lots of properties that.
I guess what I would come into play, Roland, is that, so if we're allowing 6,000 square foot lots, and they're including into the acequia with the property line, they really don't, that's kind of like not having it. If we don't want the streets included, we won't want that acequia even included in the
Right.
category, doing it with it yet.
Right,
Right,
The 15 feet, okay, from the center each way.
or at least show how you're gonna preserve it. I mean, are you gonna cover it all the way down and cover it up,
Yeah.
something like that.
yes. We wanna make sure that we protect those water right of ways.
Yes.
Land uses of abutting properties, names of owners, tax map numbers, and deed book and plat book references. That, the surveyor knows what all that means, it's pretty typical on a plat. Location showing subdivision and surrounding area, and then of course the north arrow.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to this in your second paragraph.
Yes,
I'm gonna bring up the DRT reviews, we need to make those that there's a checkoff list that they do instead of just,
Yeah.
ditto. Let's say for each one of the departments require what they should be reviewing, okay?
I will get that checklist made up, yeah, I think that's a very good idea.
I apologize for that, but that's my beef, okay?
Well, right now they're just putting none.
Okay,
Or they all put, we need water meters and sewer line meters from the police department.
okay. I think that's a good point, so I'll work on that DRT checklist, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna flip the page and we're gonna go to
No,
number,
before
oh, I'm
we-
sorry, Mr. Burns.
I wanna go back to 9 because it's not clear in my mind.
Okay.
That we're saying what our intent is. So what we want is to make sure that the property line is not in the center of an acequia or stream or creek, right?
Well, it could be.
Well then, so who cares then if it could be? What are we trying to say there? If we're trying to preserve the acequias
We need to
are a big
clarify it,
deal.
right, we need to clarify it.
So it should be preservation, maybe
Right,
statement,
yeah, we're trying to
clarifying
preserve.
preservation.
We do have acequias all over the place and, that's a.
Which number is that?
9.
Okay, so, Commissioner Nguyen, so it would be statement clarifying preservation.
Of acequias included in properties.
Okay, so I'm gonna strike whether the property line is in the center, I'm gonna strike that
But
statement, oh, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, when you have an acequia into your property, they will not let you
That's right.
screw with that ditch.
No,
No,
they won't.
right,
shouldn't.
Yeah, right.
But this is-
They won't, but it's nice to.
But this is the primary, this is a preliminary plat, so the plat needs to show that acequia, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
Well,
say.
then let's say that.
It needs to show that there's an acequia there and then the setbacks for that,
Yeah.
or the right of way
Or
for,
if you have a creative developer.
Yeah.
You
Bridge.
build one room here, you build a bridge over to your other guest house.
That's
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
In my
I mean,
opinion,
it
yeah.
could be
I think
really
that's a great
creative.
idea, I like the little
Yeah.
bridge thing, that's
Yeah.
cute, people love running water.
So, I mean, I think it has to be talking about the preservation of.
But she did, this is just what the plat has to have, right?
Yeah.
So when they bring a plat to you, she's just saying, we wanna see what the property line is in regards to the acequia.
Right,
If you have an acequia on your property,
right.
Okay,
it has to be drawn in,
yeah,
which they should do anyway, that's just typical, part of the survey.
okay. You comfortable with that, Commissioner Abrego?
Yeah, as long as we say that,
Okay.
statement clarifying the preservation of the acequia stream or creek.
It
Okay,
gives clarity to somebody that's coming out from out of state that doesn't understand that.
Yes.
right, okay. Yeah, I have my little notes here in the margin for that, for item number 9.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go to item number 12, title block. Let's strike the word which, title block shall contain the following information. The project name, and I have in there in parentheses approved by staff, and the reason for that is because I think it's important that when the planning director meets with an applicant, they do a 911 search first and look at all the subdivisions that we have in town so that we don't have two subdivisions just coincidentally named
Same.
that's the same, because that's gonna give us a real issue when it comes to 911 addressing. So it's important for staff to be a part of that naming process.
And that occurs in the area where I live on Milagro Road, but there's a Milagro trailer, so there's a thing. Remember?
See? Yeah, and it can get confusing. And then you can have Milagro Loop, Milagro Court,
Right.
all kinds of stuff, and then, so it's, we wanna try to avoid that confusion in the future. The type of plat, so it's gonna be site-built single families, cause that's required, they need to be 1,250 square feet. The name and the address of the owner and the developer, the seal, the registration number of the licensed surveyor, engineer, the date the plat was made, including revised dates, number of acres of square footage, number of miles of new road. I don't know if we wanna go miles of new road, I would say that we strike miles and I would say number of square feet. Cause it's gonna be 25 feet wide and it's only 1 acre, so we're not gonna have miles of road, so it's the number of square feet of new road, and the surveyor can figure that out real quick. They can do the math. Number of lots and their units, scale, using the UPC number. Everybody has a UPC number on every parcel they have. Community name and zip code, so for example, it would say Espanola, Fairview, Ranchitos, Santa Cruz. Certification of accurate survey, that's a typical stamp that the engineer would just have on the plats certifying Lou Baker, a licensed engineer, certify that this is accurate. Floodplain, solid line drawn across lots or rights of way to delineate current phase or section for future development. So for example, if a developer, we're gonna go back to the 5-year requirement that we talked about earlier. So if you, the property owner, or the developer wanna phase this out in 5 years, you can put that in your plat stating that this is gonna be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and that way everybody knows what's going on. And then once it's recorded, it's legal. Provide a legend for symbols, and then a location of cluster mailboxes per the United States Postal Service. So then we're gonna go on to the minor subdivision application review process. So the planning and land use department shall review the minor subdivision application and all required documentation, including comments from the DRT. The public hearing, of course, we need to comply with the Open Meetings Act.
This is when it comes to us.
Yes, this is when it comes to us, the public hearing. So let me put in there, public hearing, at or by P&Z Commish for preliminary plat approval. So it's gonna come to you, staff at DRT have made all the comments, it's gonna come to you, and then you're gonna review it. You'll approve it with conditions or deny it. But before it comes to you, it needs to be posted, it needs to be published, and the property owners within 200 feet will be notified by certified mail that there's going to be a public hearing. Then we're gonna go to Planning and Zoning Commission preliminary plat decision. So here's where you guys will say you'll approve it, you'll approve with conditions, or you'll deny it. The Planning and Land Use Director shall approve the final plat after subdivider complies with all Planning and Zoning Commission decision. And that should be plural, decisions. So once you folks have had a chance to review this, talk about it, make conditions, the applicant goes away with those to meet with their engineer, the architect, or their surveyor, implements those into a final plat and brings those back to the planning director. So that's where the final plat recording comes in. The final plat approval will be issued after approvals are received from all city departments. Planning staff will release lots for building permits following the recording of the final plat. The minor subdivision is in full force and effective only after the final plat has been duly recorded in the office of Santa Fe or Yuba County Clerk and copies filed with the Planning and Land Use Department. The subdivider shall submit to the Planning and Land Use 2 hard copies and a digital file. I would really like to stress to you as a commission moving forward that if I or staff or the next planning director fails to make this a requirement, I would like for you to make this a condition, is that these documents are returned to the planning department as a digital file. We really need to, I don't know if you've had a chance to go to the back room, we have probably like 20 years of historical documents, plats, plan sets, engineering drawings, and it's gonna cost, I'm working on getting some money so that we can get all of those scanned and archived and stored. So moving forward, it's no hardship, it's no additional cost to the applicant. Their engineer, their architect, or their surveyor can just put those on a thumb drive or even email them to Vince or Robert or planning director, and then they go into the folder for the planning department. And each application that you review has its own folder. So that document would be just dropped and dragged and dropped in there, and we're gonna do away with those boxes of paper files from now on.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you archive those files, those PDF files or whatever they are, are you gonna do some sort of archiving on an offsite?
The ones that are in the back? Yes.
Well, even the ones that are coming in now, you are archiving them outside of the facility?
Yes, they go into the city server. They're protected. No one, I'm assuming no one can hack it. I know that they have security, all kinds of.
I think Mr. Borrego can, taxation and revenue, they take all those files and they have an off-site area where they keep them.
Okay.
So for safety purposes, if a
Yeah.
building burns down or something, they blow up the building, whatever, if those servers are gone, then you have an off-site.
We can take them to Trump.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then we'll just take them over to the chair's house.
No, I think it's a great, having redundancy, having a redundancy plan is a great idea. Yeah, no, I think it's, we can talk to the city manager and to the IT director on exactly where are they stored. I know they're stored on the city server. Where the city server is, I have no idea.
So can I pull the meeting so we can get out of here tonight? So what I hope you all will do is take this with you and in a couple of days, let's say in the next 3 days, can you please give your comments, if you see anything that needs to be addressed, send it to Lou so we can talk about it, okay? And when we gave up our building inspectors and we issued license and our building permits, we used to know how many houses were being built in Espanola. It's sad to say, of the people I know, I can't think of a new house of any that I know that's been built within the last probably 40 years. Do you guys know anybody that's built a new house in the last 4 or 5 years?
In the city?
In the city?
No,
I don't think so.
I've seen some double wides moved into lots and, not that.
No, side built homes,
Yeah.
so when we started with this ordinance, that's kind of the goal, is like, man, let's see if we can get some home construction going again.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, but the process now, we've gone through all of this, then does the city council have to approve this?
Oh yeah, so what's gonna happen now is once we get your comments, then we're gonna take this information to Jordan, who's gonna write the ordinance. He's the city manager. And I'm sure he's gonna change some things around, because he wants to see, he's the boss. And then it'll go to city council for approval. Once it's approved, then wow, we'll be
Then
neat
we
to see
can
what's happening.
implement, it can be implemented?
And then it goes into effect in 30 days,
Okay.
after city council approves it.
So we could get it done by, hopefully by the first of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or before that a little bit, cause it'd take
Yeah,
them,
I'm just saying.
yeah, by advertising it, they could actually work on it in here in November, December. They could actually be at the point where they have to have like two public hearings, what do you say, Jordan?
Mhm.
2 public hearings and then they can act on it.
But they have to go through committee first and then.
I don't think I'll go to the committee, I think it's go to council.
Then go to council.
Yeah,
The city manager will, carry the water on it.
Okay.
carry forward.
I know we're running out of time, so I'm gonna make this really quick. Under item number 6, matters from staff. There's some things I just wanna talk to you about real quick. I just wanna, thank Mohammed for his, love of our community. I wanna thank Mohammed for his energy and his smile. I miss him very much. I enjoyed working with Mohammed every day. And I think this is the first meeting that we've had as a commission since his passing. So I just want the record to show that we just want to acknowledge Mohammed for his hard work and his dedication to our community. I want to thank staff. I've been working with Armando and I've been working with Vince and I've been working with Robert. Robert, I want to give you a special shout out for tonight. Thank you, Robert. He's been helping me with IT issues and shepherding me through some really important stuff that the planning department needs to take care of. So thank you. I wanted to just let you know we do have an amazing city manager. So I want to let you know for the next planning workshop, I have invited him to be here so that you can meet with him, talk to him, ask him questions. He's amazing. He's a breath of fresh air. I just received notice. There is going to be a meeting next week that I've been invited to. I just got it this afternoon, so you know as much as I know. There's going to be a meeting with Lauderberger to throw the building down. So they're going to either relocate to a different part of town. So I don't know what's going to happen at this meeting. So fences went up yesterday around Lauderberger, and
There's lots of vandalism happening in there though, right?
it was starting to turn into a shrine.
Yeah.
And I think they really want to get away from that.
Well, but there were also, I mean, the shrine is fine, but when they start spray painting the building and doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, so just to let you know, I just got invited to that meeting today, so I will definitely let you know what's going on with that and with Lauderberger.
Packets for next meeting next week, are they gonna be available Friday?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Packets will be ready tomorrow.
Okay,
After
I'm
5, right?
one of those ones that do want a hard copy, okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry, cause I got printing issues.
We all do, yeah, we all do.
I'll send out
Okay.
an email.
in the mailbox? They'll be in the mailbox.
I'll send out an email when they're ready to pick up tomorrow.
And I wanna thank you, Robert, for helping me with that also, okay?
Can you send a read receipt on your emails? That say, that you'll know when somebody opens the email?
I don't know. I've never done that. I'll have to look into it.
I'm asking because now I'm getting loose emails, but I never get yours. But I got loose because I went back through my junk, all the emails I transfer over to my inbox, but I never get your emails. That's why I'm asking.
So I have your right, well, I gave everything that I collected from Mohammed, as far as name and emails addresses, we took them to Ismail. He controls that, that planning group.
That address.
So, that when there was a changeover, we updated everything. But if I can just get your information, make sure it's correct.
Okay.
We'll take care of that, and then, and we'll make sure that you get, I'll walk him through that receipt.
And double check my
That you
also.
received it, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll help you with that.
Anything else with staff?
Just, I'm working with Robert and Armando. This past week, they were tasked with going out into the community and locating, all the derelict properties in the community. And so what Robert's gonna do is he's going to use GIS and map it so we can start to see clustering. Where are our problem properties in the city?
Can
And
you
I'm
go
sure-
to my neighbor's house?
I actually saw that you guys out on East Pueblo, so.
So those, it's gonna
There's like
be,
4 houses there that are boarded up, full of weeds.
Some of these, I'm like, man, these are in really nice areas, and I'm like, because I've been wanting to move up here since I got the job 3 years ago, and I'm like, this is a nice property, you know, maybe the house could be derelict inside, but I'm like, this is a nice location, that's a nice location.
We have some real bad issues with some properties.
Okay.
And so what Armando's gonna be doing, working with Robert, we're gonna locate them, map them, and then send the property owner a letter stating they have an X amount of days to come into compliance. On the 7th day, Armando will go back to the property with a red tag, with a police officer and a general contractor, and that place is getting boarded up. Cause we have a lot of homeless people just squatting in these homes, and so I just wanted to know that's what we're working on right now.
How about
And I wanna
properties that,
issue an apology on it, because I told you, please don't send me any of those emails. But I work with my daughter, she does tax services, and I have to be real careful of the type of emails that I receive, because the type of emails that you were sending me, every one of them says, do not click on any links, malware attached, okay? So I gotta be real careful of the type of information I receive. So maybe I can set up a different email address for this purpose.
Sure. I send out a lot of emails because I love transparency and I love to communicate. And I love to send you guys industry, because I have probably 32 subscriptions to everything in the industry. And so I'm always forwarding you something from what's going on in retail, what's going on here, what's going on there, and just to give you, and it's a lot of reading. You don't need to read everything, and there's this little button up the top, hit delete, it's gone, you don't need to worry about it, okay? So other than that, we can go on all night, I can share a lot of stuff with you, but I wanted you to go home to see your families. So, Mr. Chair Trio, it's back to you.
Yeah, well, that's.
oh, I forgot what I was gonna.
Derelict properties.
So let's just.
Oh, this, just a comment.
Yes.
Okay? And I don't know if you even looked into this, but there's some properties that, have been condemned.
Okay, give me the address, do you know?
I will, I'll
Okay.
share it later with you. And I know that Mohammed had looked into some of that stuff, and, his concern was, we don't have any budget right now, or we're waiting for some budget to raise the property. In other words, to tear it down.
Yeah. We're not there yet, I'm gonna be honest with
There are
you.
some that need to be,
Okay,
you know what I mean?
send me the address and I'll definitely look at that, because there's gonna be an upfront cost. The city's gonna have to pay a general contractor, go in
Sure.
and throw the building down, but that bill is going to the property owner.
Not only that, you recover it if you
Yeah.
have
File
to
a
condemn
lien,
the
right?
property,
Yeah, yeah.
file a lien on it.
Yeah, it's going to the property owner. That bill, the city's not gonna absorb that cost.
That's right.
Okay, and one final point of clarification.
Yes.
You mentioned about, the GRT taxes that were fixed. Gotta give credit to the mayor and to, and Councilor Benavides. They did meet with the governor at a function at Santa Clara, and they brought the issue up, and she pushed that through.
Yes.
And that was nice, and now there's another thing going on through the thing that she's gonna provide, other services to the city, but I can't mention exactly what it is, but it's occurring, and then Mr. JD's gonna talk to her for 15 minutes tomorrow, and he's gonna give her hell.
So let's go around with matters from the commission, you want us to, Joe, anything else you want to?
That's it, I'll make that one clarification.
Thank you.
Nope, I'm getting your emails, so.
Oh, good, I hope you,
Thank you all for your time.
it's good information, if not, just delete it.
Well, yeah, so please get your comments to Lou, and meeting, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
To the Republican.
Now he's giving me a hard time.
Very much.
See, you have to start